till too. Then I got till too. But you got light till too. Then I got till too. But you got light till too. Then I got till too. But you got light till too. Then I got till too. But you got light till too. Then I got till too. But you got light till too. Then I got till too. But you got light till too. Then I got till too. But you got light till too. Then I got till too. Come on. But you got light till too. 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 Come on. But you got light till too. Then I got till too. But you got light till too. Then I got till too. Come on. Light till too. Light till too. Light till too. But you got light till too. Come on. Light till too. Light till too. Light till too. But you got light till too. Come on. But you got light till too. But you got light till too.
Thank you for joining us again. This is live with Dr. Heath, the Dr. D show. Did this in so many different forms over the years, so we thank God that we have an opportunity to come on this Friday night to discuss some relevant topics as we do. And we appreciate you joining us for the ride. You can force comment, inbox. If you want to go live on the show with me, you can inbox me at the Dr. D show, and I'll bring you on. I can get you on, and we can share our thoughts and our commentary together here live tonight. As advertised, I do want to talk about a couple of things, get a couple of things off my chest, add some perspective, if you will, just to the thing that's happening today in our society. Let me not be coy about this. Let me be real and honest. I understand that the world is complicated and that there are many facets and levels to our lives, our system of government, our religious beliefs. And one thing we all have is opinions, and we have perspective, right? And so we grant each other that as human beings to have thoughts. And one of the things that bother me in today's culture, today's society, is we don't seem to want to allow anybody to have a different opinion than ourselves. As a matter of fact, we want to ostracize and throw people away for thinking differently than we do. And I don't think that's fair. How can conversations progress if different ideas aren't shared? And it's systematic of where we live. I also think that we are being played. When I say we, I mean the general populace, and that's us in the country and the world. And the general populace, from my definition, covers different ethnic backgrounds, ages, colors, creeds, and religious beliefs. In the United States, as you are aware, you should be aware, that we are a republic that practices democracy. We are a republic that practices democracy, and the basis for republic is the many elect a few to govern the many. That's how it works. And so that's the system of government that we have here in the United States of America. That's why we only have a two-party system. Well, two major political parties, and that's the way whoever they are, and the they that I'm referring to are those that remain in power. They like it that way. It's easier to manage and control. And brothers and sisters, we need to heighten our understanding and get better at what we talk about, so that we can be better prepared to handle the things that come our way. And that leads me to a few thoughts. I am bothered. I am deeply bothered by the commentary I see here on social media. And again, I started out with saying that everybody has their opinion, and we do. But we need to be careful how we frame those thoughts, and we make sure that we put them out as opinion or perspective, and not try to sell them as fact when they're not. Currently, of course, we're still in the pandemic stage. We're still under, a lot of states, not all states, but a lot of states are under a stay-at-home executive order by their governor that limit access to certain things, certain places, certain ideas, certain businesses, and so forth and so on. And we understand that. And although the last few weeks there's been a lessening of the restrictions, a loosening of the rules, if you will, and some semblance of returning to what we would call normal. That is what everybody thought they wanted. But are we paying attention to what's happening? Do we see what's really going forward right now? As soon as it seems as if the restrictions of the stay-at-home order are being lifted, the media found something else to shock us with. The media put something else out there for us to be concerned with. And so they brought to light the tragic death of Mr. Marbury from 2 months ago as he was seemingly jogging, and it being recorded almost as a modern day lynching. Because in the news realm, if it bleeds, it leads. Which means that it has to be sensationalized to get the people's attention, to pay it, to watch. And if you look at it like, if you understand that principle, then you can also understand how the power that be utilizes the media to distract the people. John F. Kennedy is famous for making a comment. It's probably one of the things that got him killed. And I tried to get that for us tonight. I'm going to try to do that, have that quote by President Kennedy, the late President Kennedy, for us in the next couple of days. He talked about not trusting the media and how the media has a responsibility to report the news to the American public, because an informed public forces the government to act with ethnic values, so forth and so on. But we have gotten to a place where we're so hoodwinked and bamboozled. We are so led astray. Even folk that claim the church, that we just get knocked to and fro. This tragedy in Minnesota, this man being murdered slowly by police officers, is tragic. And yes, he is a man of color, black man. The officer, a white man who has a history of violence toward ethnicities. And the video went viral, and you can hear people, bystanders, trying to compel the officer to get the knee off the man's neck and let the man up and put him in the car. And reports have come out that off-duty and yet on-duty medical first responders tried to advocate a medical treatment for this man. The police officer denied him access, and that's tragic. It really is. It is absolutely absurd, is the word. What happened, and that is true. It's just absurd. But I got to be honest with you. I seem to understand. I'm not saying I'm the only one. I'm not Neo. I'm not Morpheus. I'm just a man that pays attention. I didn't see a black man. I saw two human beings, because if the cop had been black and the white and the victim had been white, it would have still been as tragic. Do we not understand that? Now, here's where the rubber meets the road. All you see on the media is white cops killing black people. And that's tragic. It is absolutely sad. Something needs to be done about that. But it's not the only things happening. And what I'm trying to say is, I really believe that what we're seeing is systematic of things to come. I really believe that these things are put out there for you and I to buy into them, so that we won't pay attention to other things. And who does that? Who has the power to do that? All these things, these questions are valid. They make sense, but it happens. I saw this. I'm gonna share this with us. I saw this meme. I don't know if it was a meme or not, but it struck with me. They allow us to keep seeing videos of police killing us, so to keep us afraid of them. It is a psychological program of fear conditioning. That's what it reads. And you know, I do believe that has merit. It has strong merit. But I also believe it's bigger than that. It to me is a sign that, watch this. Can I say it like this? We can march and we can protest, if you want to call it that. But contrary to what some folk may want to believe, this is something that we have allowed. Why? Because we still have not demanded the police chiefs or police superintendents of these individuals, of these precincts, these districts to be recalled. We still allow the mayors who appoint these people into power to still remain in office. We do not shift the balance of the city council, amen, who affects these same decisions, these same hiring practices. We don't do any of that. And I'm trying to get to a place where I understand, because I want to understand how we can be so seemingly passionate about everything but changing our culture. I was asked a question, and I had to ask myself it again. Is it that, why do we care that police officers are killing black people? Is it because we think we're the only one that's supposed to kill each other? Is that a question? Is that it? We think we're the only one that's supposed to kill each other? And that's a hard question to answer, because we want to say, of course not. We want to say we're upset about it because wrong is wrong. But if wrong is wrong, then wrong is wrong all the way. And so my thing is, we have all this commentary, and we have these leaders that only want to lead out of convenience. How come we're not getting people? How come we're not having rallies and marches and protests on election day? Let's get out. Let's lead people to the polls. There was a reason the civil rights movement back in the 50s and 60s was dedicated to getting the right to vote, because they understood something that we seemingly have lost. And that thing is this: you cannot change, and I'm going to break it down tonight, you cannot change anything in this country without voting for it. That's how republic works. But let me break it down to you. Votes equal influence. Influence is the real power in the United States. Influence. Money buys influence. Numbers guarantee influence. I'm not going to get into the presidential election, because if you don't understand that by now, you won't. But if you get to vote, you have a say on who's in charge. And if a person wants to be elected to a leadership position, they have to agree to your platform because they want your vote. That's simple enough for anybody. It makes perfect sense. But we have conditioned ourselves to not care about voting. And the people in power have understood they have to put any effort, any energy in the black community, because at the end of the day, they don't care. The black community is going to go along to get along. And that's just what it is. You want to talk about white privilege? We talked about black privilege on our last episode. It goes both ways, but they go out, other cultures go out, when I say they, I mean other races, they go out and vote. Voting is critical. Voting equals influence. Voting equals power. That's how it works. But because we don't vote, we are collectively saying we don't care. And when you don't care, you get what you get. But I'm going to say this now. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again later on. I want us to understand that one of the bigger distractions used against people of color in this country is racism. And I need you to understand and do some research. Yes, racism is a thing, but racism isn't the thing. Racism is a sublet of distraction for us. This is about classism. Again, in a republic, you have the few leading the many, right? The few leading the masses. The few, because they're in leadership positions, they're going to do what's subservient to themselves or subservient for themselves. They're going to make sure their children are taken care of. They got money and all of that. And guess what? When you get some riches, some land and some things, some assets, you acquire some stuff, you want to keep it. So racism really isn't a thing. Science and religion have all agreed that life, human life, started on the continent we call Africa, when it was all one big landmass. We know that. The whole human race started in one place. It originated in one place on the earth. And because of that, there's only one race, and that's the human race. That's undeniable. I don't care Who indoctrinated people to think, amen, it's us versus them? No, it's just us. Let some spaceships come to Earth, amen, and start lasering buildings and blowing stuff up. Oh, now y'all want to be about the human race. There's only one race. The racial thing was just a distraction. But this is not about race. It's about the half and have-nots. Because there are rich white people and there are rich black people. There are poor Indians and there are rich I should say Native Americans, and Indians too from India, you know. So there are people on both sides and every aspect of life. But this is about those that have and those that don't. And we don't understand that. And we give away our access to having more. Before I move on, let me try to quantify or give more context to what I'm saying. In Detroit, in Michigan, Flint still has no clean water. Let's keep that in mind. $1,200 checks went out to how many ever people? Unemployment went out to how many other people? But Flint still has no clean water. Okay. Before that, I think Flint was one. I know Detroit, and I'm going to talk about Detroit because I can speak to that. The governor, at the time, Governor Snyder, decided that the mayor and the city council could not manage the financial responsibilities of running Detroit. And so, through some quick legislation, he was able to appoint a emergency financial manager for the city of Detroit, basically superseding the city charter and amending the state constitution, basically making the voting appointees, or should I say the elected officials of the city, null and void. The emergency manager superseded the mayor and the city council. They became advisors at best to this appointed individual over the duly elected people of the city of Detroit. And Detroit did nothing. As a city, we did nothing. Yeah, you got commentators. You got the same ones. There's always it's some people in Detroit, like other cities. There's always in the political scene. Do a lot of talking. Nothing gets done. We did nothing. And for years, an appointee of the government, of the governor, ran the city of Detroit. You can argue whether or not that person did a good job or not, but the public did nothing. Let's go back before that. Well, what, 35, 40 years ago at this point? Maybe. No, it wasn't that long ago. Maybe 20, 25 years ago, maybe. Detroit School Board was the largest school district in the state of Michigan. I think they had an operating budget like $1.5 billion. And there was always something going on with mismanagement of funds. The governor decided then that the elected school board for the Detroit school system was not doing a good job. And they came in and took the school board from Detroit and appointed who they wanted to appoint. And we did nothing as a city. Again, it's commentators. What I'm saying is we have conditioned the government. We have conditioned those with power, with money. We have conditioned them to know that they can do what they want and we're not going to say anything. They treat it any kind of way they want to. Now let me say this, because I'm in it now. Brethren and sisterin, there are people who are, of course, upset, and I'm not minimizing of this stuff with the police brutality. And I read someone saying that oh, this is because of President Trump. Are you not paying attention, or are you just going off what you hear other people say? when President Obama was in office with a black attorney general, innocent black men and women were still being killed by the police. It never stopped. Nothing happened. The populace, the many, did not get together. We didn't march on Washington. We didn't call our senators. We didn't demand a hearing. We didn't do any of that. So my question is, what are we really upset about? That's the question. What are we really upset about? Because, I mean, after all, there are things we can do. I see now there's a movement. I got an inbox. There's a movement about a blackout day. They want to get together and black out, right? They want to get together and black out, and there's a sign of unity to show the masses or the people, however we're gonna call it, you know, what the deal is. That there's a thing out there being proposed, and that's cool, you know. But until we get everybody on board, until we make it official, until we buy broadcast time on television and not just use social media, until we get the leaders of our community and hip hop culture and in the church on one accord to do it, then nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. And we need to, we really, God help me, we really need to really get this thing together and really call it what it is, because all this talking, I read Ice Cube says, I'm tired of talking. They're not listening. We're not putting ourselves in position. Why are we angry? And it's so bad that the church has now become so worldly. I had a conversation with our members today, and I reminded them that we have an obligation as Christians. We have to make sure we speak peace. And people call you weak for speaking peace, but I'm a Christian. You know, I'm not supposed to act out of anger. I'm working on it. I'm not supposed to be the one that's advocating violence. That's not how it's supposed to be. You know, we're supposed to be the mediators. That's our job. That's what we're called to do. And we can't be the ones out there advocating violence and taking over and this, that, and the third. That's not who we're supposed to be. We're false flagging when we do that. And all I'm saying is, while we're giving all this commentary on social issues, which is fine, it's your right. I said that at the beginning in the disclaimer. It's our right to do that. Cool. I'm not knocking that. It is what it is. I'm straight with it. What I'm saying is, we have to be responsible for what we say and what we do. We have to be responsible. We have to look at both sides of the story. We have to understand the right is right and wrong is wrong. There are two sides to everything, and that's not to justify one or the other. Why is it that I can look at this, and why can I say, when I saw this man being murdered by these cops, and I talk about the tragedy of it, and I look at the fact that this police officer seemed to be so callous in what he was doing. I don't care if he's a Republican. I don't care if he worked, and I don't care if Mexicans had on boots. The man had his hand in his pockets. He looked really calm. Why is it that when I look at that, I can say I see two human beings, not necessarily just a white man and a black man? Why am I wrong for that? Why can't my truth, the truth, stand for what it is? Why must we always agree in emotion? I don't know, Cody. My dog looking at me. Stay up there. I don't understand that. We need peace. But can I say this too, as I hurry on to a close? Listen, everybody wants things to get back to normal. Now you have it. What are you going to do with it now? You know. Did we save up? Did we organize? Did we come together during this quiet time? I saw on Facebook some marchings and some things downtown Detroit, and as I said on the call earlier, I don't understand how folk in different cities can riot and march. You know, I don't understand how you can be upset at Walmart and go to Myers and complain. But I watched the video of the protesters through downtown Detroit, and I looked at how much gentrification had taken place, and I looked at it again. I said, I understand gentrification, but all these people can't be from the city of Detroit. They can't be. They can't. And I'm wondering, and it made me think. Go back upstairs. And it made me wonder, what about this made them want to protest, but not in their own city? And I had the thought, if somebody threw a rock or broke a glass, all it takes is a spark, and everybody else would be ignited to do the wrong thing. But on the news, it'd be go upstairs. Sorry, I got a dog. It'd be Detroiters have rioted and Detroiters have done all this. And it's just multimedia play, brothers and sisters. My point, we have to be careful of what we say and what we let in and how we digest things. We have to be mindful that everything ain't always what it appears to be. We need peace. We need prayer. We need to advocate the love of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and the value of other people. We need to do that. We need to be on it. We do. That's my rant box for today. I'm going to come back probably tomorrow. I'll do another episode. And I'm going to address what I want to talk about earlier. I'm going to do it in this episode. We're going to talk about the real reasons some churches won't reopen right now. We're going to talk about that. But I just want to come on and pray with you and pray for us, and you're not alone, and you don't have to feign anger because being angry makes somebody else happy. You don't have to give commentary if you're not gifted or anointed. There's anything. Don't feel pressured giving commentary in this situation if the Lord ain't told you to. I mean, you, as a human being, as a citizen of this country, you have a right to feel a certain way based off your history. Not everybody's had a positive experience with the police. Not everybody's had positive experiences with different races. I'm not one of those people. I've had, I'm blessed in that, but that does not mean that I deny that there's been some sure abuses of power that's happened, and some police officers have taken their jobs for granted and the safety of their jobs for granted, and it's just unfair and it's wrong. And I think it's unfair that these people, these police officers, or anybody in authority, can abuse their power basically without consequence. Because when we do the wrong thing, the Bible says, men do evil things, and because judgment does not happen swiftly, it becomes right in the minds of men to do evil. Because there's no judgment right away, people think they can get away with it, and then they'll keep doing it. That's just what it is. And so that's sad. But I say this again. People say voting isn't the answer. How do you know? It's a great step. Something we don't want to try. Let's get out the vote. But let's also understand who we're voting for, and pay attention to their platform and their history. Biden made a comment the other day that said, if you ain't voting for him, you ain't black. Do you know how arrogant that comment is? I challenge you at the end of the show, do your research. From an economic point of view, for a job opportunities point of view, I double dog dare you to do a side-by-side comparison of which of the two major political parties have been the best for your community. Just do that. Do some research. Look at Google how many jobs were granted or given or gained by African Americans, by Latinos, by Chinese Americans under the Republicans versus Democrats. Look at 8-year presidents by political party. If you're a member of the household of faith, if you're a Christian, look at political parties and find out which political party has been the most beneficial to the church or to the synagogue or to the mosque. Look that up. Do some didactic research. Not didactic research. Do some research. Do a deep dive. Forgive me. And look at some of these things. And see how hoodwinked and bamboozled you've been. I would say, and this is a number I'm going to throw out because we like to throw out numbers on social media when we're on the camera, behind the microphone. I'm going to say 900 billion% of the people, 900% of billions of people that claim to be Democrats, only Democrats because they know Democrats or their grandparents or parents are Democrats, they have no idea what the Democratic Party stands for. Most people are, 100 jillion% of people are against the Republican Party because the Republican Party don't care for people. And that's all you got. How are you informed by that? What are you using to back that up? That's what we need to find. That's what we need to find out. That's what we need to do. We need to get more critical in our thinking. Two of the biggest myths is all white people are racist. That's just a lie. I read somewhere that there are people that believe that because African Americans deal with systemic racism in this country, which is undeniable, that black people can't be racist. Black people can't be racist? That's a lie. Yes. We can justify it all day long. You can say it's okay. No, we're gonna look at what it is, right? Brothers and sisters, I digress. I thank you. This has been Dr. D, and yeah, I'm out. We gotta do better though. We gotta do better. We gotta do better, and we have to do better now. Pray for us. We have more fun tomorrow. We're gonna get back to the comedy and stuff later on, but I have to get that off my chest. Pray for the victims of violence everywhere. Pray for our country, our leadership. If you're a person of faith, you're supposed to pray for our leadership anyway. Be responsible for your comments. Be responsible. Feel how you feel. That's your right. But be angry and sin not. That's the Bible. God bless you tonight. And we gonna bounce.
But you got a light bill too. Then you got a gas bill too. But you got a light bill too. Then you got a gas bill too. But you got a light bill too. Then you got a gas bill too. But you got a light bill too. Then you got a gas bill too.